e4, king's pawn opening, opening line. The king's pawn opening move is both popular and logical. It controls the center, opens lines for both the queen and the bishop, and usually leads to an open game in which tactics, rather than slow maneuvering, predominates. c5, Sicilian defense, opening line. The Sicilian defense has an ancient lineage. It creates an unbalanced position in which both sides have full rein for play, and allows black to call the shots at least to some extent. d4, Sicilian defense, opening line. An early d4 by white can transpose to normal lines or lead to the Morra gambit. c takes d4, Sicilian defense, opening line. c3, Sicilian defense, Morra gambit, opening line. The Morra gambit, similar to lines in the Rui or Scotch, accelerates white's development for a pawn. d3, out of opening book. d5 would have been in the Sicilian defense, Morra gambit book opening. Creates a passed pawn on d3. Bishop takes d3. White wins a pawn. Material is even. e6. Knight f3 clears the way for a kingside castle. a6. Castle kingside. Bishop c5. Knight g5. Slightly better is knight b d2. Queen b6. Slightly better is bishop e7. Knight takes f7. Leads to king takes f7, queen f3, check, king e7, e5, king d8, bishop g5, check, king c7, b4, bishop e7, which wins a pawn for a knight. Better is knight d2, leading to queen c7, knight g f3, knight c6, knight b3, bishop d6, bishop e3, knight f6, which does not result in any captures. This was white's only serious miscue, but white was able to stay close and eventually mated. King f8, look out, leads to knight takes h8, queen c7, b4, bishop b6, queen h5, d5, bishop e3, bishop takes e3, f takes e3, check, knight f6, e takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, which wins a bishop and a pawn for a rook, a bishop, and 2 pawns. Much better is king takes f7, leading to queen f3, check, king e7, e5, king d8, bishop g5, check, king c7, b4, bishop e7, which wins a knight. This was black's only meaningful blunder, but it cost the game. Black was not able to recover, and was eventually mated. Queen f3. Slightly better is knight takes h8. Knight f6. Attacks white's knight at f7. Knight takes h8. Pins black's knight at f6. White wins a rook. White is up a rook and a pawn. King e8. leads to e5, queen c6, queen takes c6, knight takes c6, e takes f6, g takes f6, bishop takes h7, knight e5, knight g6, knight d3, which wins a queen and a pawn for a queen, a knight, and a pawn. Better is knight c6, leading to queen g3, king g8, b4, bishop f8, bishop e3, queen d8, e5, knight takes e5, queen takes e5, king takes h8, which wins a knight and a pawn for a knight. e5 threatens black's knight at f6. a5 leads to e takes f6, g takes f6, queen takes f6, bishop e7, queen f7, check, king d8, queen g8, check, king c7, bishop f4, check, e5, bishop takes e5, check, d6, queen takes h7, knight c6, knight g6, d takes e5, knight takes e7, queen takes b2, knight takes c8, check, king takes c8, which wins a bishop, a knight, and 2 pawns for 2 bishops, a knight, and 3 pawns. Better is queen c6, leading to queen takes c6, knight takes c6, e takes f6, g takes f6, bishop takes h7, knight e5, knight g6, knight d3, which wins a queen and a pawn for a queen, a knight, and a pawn. E takes f6 forks black's pawn at g7 and black's pawn at h7. King d8, ouch, leads to knight f7, check, king c7, f takes g7, d6, g8, queen, knight c6, knight d2, queen a7, bishop takes h7, queen a6. Much better is g takes f6, leading to queen takes f6, bishop e7, queen f7, check, king d8, queen g8, check, king c7, bishop f4, check, d6, queen takes h7, which gains a queen. F takes g7. Adds a promote threat at g7, creates a passed pawn on g7, and isolates black's pawn at h7. King c7. g8, queen. White wins a knight and a pawn. Additionally, white gains a queen through promotion. White is up a queen, a rook, a knight, and a pawn in material. Queen d6, ouch, pins own pawn at b7. Leads to knight f7, queen e7, queen f g3, check, king b6, bishop g5, queen takes g5, knight takes g5, knight c6, knight takes h7, which wins a bishop for a queen and a pawn. Much better is knight c6, leading to knight f7, d6, knight d2, queen a7, bishop takes h7, queen a6, which loses a pawn. Knight f7. threatens checkmate, queen to d8, and attacks black's queen. Queen f8. Black steps into the forced mate. Much better is knight c6. Queen f8 leads to queen f4, check, e5. Queen takes e5, check. Bishop d6. Knight takes d6. Knight a6. Queen takes a5, check. b6. Queen c4, check. Knight c5. Queen c takes c5, check. King b8. Queen c takes b6, check. Bishop b7. Queen takes b7 and checkmate. Bishop f4, check. White misses the chance for a forced mate. Much better is queen f4, check, leading to e5. Queen takes e5, check. Bishop d6. Knight takes d6. Knight a6. Queen takes a5, check. b6. Queen c4, check. Knight c5. Queen c takes c5, check. King b8. Queen c takes b6, check. Bishop b7. Queen takes b7 and checkmate. e5 protects black's king and forks white's queen at g8 and white's bishop at f4. Bishop takes e5, check, protects white's queen at g8, checks black's king, creates a passed pawn on f2, and isolates black's pawn at d7. d6. Black moves into a forced mate. Much better is king b6. d6 leads to queen takes f8. King b6. Queen d8, check. King a7. Queen takes a5, check. Knight a6. Knight takes d6. Bishop takes d6. Queen e3, check. King b8. Bishop takes d6, check. Knight c7. Bishop takes c7 and checkmate. Queen takes f8. White observes a mate in 6. Threatens to mate, queen to d8. Leads to king b6. Queen d8, check. King a7. Queen takes a5, check. Knight a6. Knight takes d6. Bishop takes d6. Queen e3, check. King b8. Bishop takes d6, check. Knight c7. Bishop takes c7 and checkmate. Knight a6. Knight takes d6. White has a mate in 3. Protects white's bishop at e5. Leads to king b6. Queen takes c8. Bishop takes f2, check. Queen takes f2, check. Knight c5. Queen c takes c5 and mate. Bishop takes f2, check. Removes the threat on black's pawn at h7 and checks white's king. Queen takes f2. White has a mate in 3. Protects white's king and threatens black's pawn at h7. Leads to king c6, bishop e4, check. King c7, knight takes c8, check. King d7, queen to f5 and mate. Bishop h3 pins white's pawn at g2 with a partial pin. Attacks white's queen at f8 and blocks white's pawn at h2. Knight b5, check. White has a mate in 2. removes the threat on white's queen at f8 and checks black's king with a double check. Leads to king d7, queen d6, check, king e8, queen f7, and checkmate. King d7 moves it out of check and threatens white's queen at f8. Queen d4, check. White has a mate in 1. Protects white's queen at f8 and checks black's king. Leads to king c6, queen d6, and checkmate. King c6 moves it out of check and attacks white's queen at f8. Queen f d6, checkmate. Checkmates black's king.